morning. Right now, I'm going to start off with an operational briefing of what's happening on the ground in the county. And then I'm going to get into some of the recovery aspects of the organizations and the cities within the county and where we're at. Right now, fire operations are still in progress throughout the area of Wimberley. That's actually starting to expand all the way up through Blanco County, all the way down the riverway towards Caldwell County. Right now, we are still looking at 11 people missing from Hayes County proper from this flood event. We have recovered three fatalities have been recovered. One male, one female, or two males and one female. We had one male recovered on the 25th here in San Marcos at the Heritage Park. One female yesterday 8 a.m. in Caldwell County, just on the county line of Caldwell and Hayes. And a male victim last night at 4 p.m. at the Rancho 12 Bridge. It's actually FM 2325 in Wimberley. None of those fatalities have been identified. I suspect that identification is maybe even coming in as we speak. If it happens while we're still here, we will give that information to you. Otherwise, we'll send it out after. But if it happens while we're sitting here right now, I told them interrupt us, let us know what the information is on that. We get positive identifications. The photos and identification information of the missing persons is on the board over there for you guys when you leave out of here. Right now, we are still in search mode. Every time that it rains, that poses a problem for our guys on the ground down there in Wimberley especially. I've talked to the fire chief and his folks continuously, especially overnight. We have over 100 people from state assets, local assets, in the riverways actively making this happen. We suspect there will be a transition today with private assets and volunteer forces where they are organized volunteer forces being authorized to come in and work with our resources. It's to the point now where we need to start branching out away from the riverways and such, but we're not looking for volunteers for that purpose. We have volunteer search groups and teams that are organized for that purpose. So that's got to be a coordinated effort. We do not need any more anybody hurt or worse in this scenario. We're already in a bad way right now, and we don't want anything to go wrong. Right now, on the recovery side with our cities, we have several functions in progress: donations, volunteers. We're trying to manage all these issues. As you can imagine, there's people all over the United States sending assets and just showing up on our porch, which is wonderful. We appreciate that. Unfortunately, it's hard to manage because we don't know you're coming. So if you plan on doing something like that, please notify us before. Showing up with an 18-wheeler full of something, saying we're here to help is great, and we appreciate it, but if you just give us heads up on that sort of thing, we can manage it a lot better. We do have volunteer centers open in San Marcos and Wimberley. In Wimberley, the volunteer center for people who want to volunteer or need volunteers at the Cypress Creek Church on 211 Stillwater, and those are open between 8 and 5 p.m. The San Marcos Volunteer Center is at the San Marcos Plaza Park, the old fish hatchery, at 206 C.M. Allen Parkway, also open 8 to 5. Those are operated and coordinated through the various cities, and AmeriCorps is helping us out with that. We have hundreds of people and organizations that are on the ground, thousands I would say, that want to help and do things, and that's great. As the weekend gets closer, we'll be in a better position to facilitate and those folks get them where they need to be. These volunteer centers are integral to making this happen. If you show up in our jurisdiction for volunteer assistance, you've got to check in with our ERC, our Volunteer Resource Center, to help us keep track of who's where and what they're doing. Today, for example, we'll have a small group of people in San Marcos between 9 and 2 p.m. Out at Half Price Books doing a little work here at San Marcos. Wimberley, they're still in the midst of the search and rescue operations, and we're still trying to get those things coordinated down there. The call center's been set up at 512-754-2275. Again, that's 512-754-2275. And that's for disaster-related questions that you might have. We've been doing damage assessments overnight and over the last few days, we can say. We have thousands of homes that are damaged, some totally lost. We still don't have firm numbers. I do anecdotally, for example, in this jurisdiction here in San Marcos, we have 744 homes that were impacted in either a severe or some way. We have lost 50. We've lost several homes here. I know Wimberley has multiple homes with they're down to the foundation. It's a pretty devastating scenario. With that, that's the overview of what we're doing on the ground there, what our recovery operations are, and I'm going to open it to questions. I'm sure you have many.
What do you mean when you say you're going to move away from the river in terms of the
search? Well, we have a search grid area where the river was, where it is now. We're going to expand that out a little bit, essentially, when in the search operations. That's where the private groups come in real well. We can get some folks on the ground, we call them ground pounders, that can get out there and walk through it.
Ken, in regards to the bodies that were recovered, could you give us a timeline of when, the sex of that individual, and where?
On the 25th, we had one male. It was in the morning hours, and it's in San Marcos. On yesterday morning at 8 o'clock, one female in Caldwell County, on the county line, Hayes and Caldwell in that area. 4 o'clock last night, one male, FM 2325. That'd be in the Wimberley area at the bridge area.
23, FM 23?
2325.
Do you feel like you know who those people are and you're just not publicly identifying them, or is it still?
We can't be wrong. I understand the car and who the car belongs to, but other people can be involved in driving those vehicles or borrowing and things. We can't be wrong. Medical examiner is going to be the definitive measure. Do you have that?
No.
No? Okay. So we were expecting it to come in. We're still waiting for that information. So that's where we're at.
Kim, a lot of people, disasters have shown us that people can survive after several days.
Correct.
Are you still hopeful that we can find someone still alive, or is hope gone?
We have a operations meeting going on as we speak. We had FLIR up last night, infrared looking at devices in helicopter format to look for e-signatures and things. That data is still being assimilated and figured out at the Ops Center. We are still in search and rescue mode. We are still looking for viable victims. You have to keep in mind also, we've had 2 events since this event that has put us back into the rescue business multiple times. I know the numbers have been changing of who's missing. We are firm at 11 right now, and that's where we calculated someone solved something or something tangible that puts them as to be a missing person. We had as high as 30 some odd numbers the other day. The phones finally started turning on, the power started getting turned back on, and then the folks from out of state finally started getting a hold of people. We've sent officers to people's homes. We searched around the 75 numbers, what we've had to physically go find and physically lay eyes on these people to make sure that they're okay. And we've done that. That's where we get the 11 from.
The private rescue effort that we were talking about transitioning to, when you say organized, you're talking about
I'm talking about
groups like the Heidi Search Center,
like Texar, right?
What can you name a few of them? And that's versus just Joe Blow who wants to come and
Right. We are not. If you come individually to this site, you will be turned away. If you're not part of Rubicon, Texar, those kind of groups that are formally organized, uniformed, equipped, trained personnel on the ground, you won't get near the river. That's not what this is about. We need people that know what they're doing. We're going to utilize those resources. We always intend to do that. But the best people in the world to do that is Texas Task Force 1, and that's who's here. We give them the ability to get in and do their thing, and they, in the midst of all of this, they're organizing and tracking for the future. They know how this is going to work. This isn't the first time that we've had to do these types of search and rescues to organize for the next group. So they've taken care of the more difficult and technical parts of the search. Now we can start letting some of those other groups. That's got to be organized. This isn't a call for those groups. We already know who they are. We already have them in play, and we'll bring those out probably this afternoon. Is that?
Are you looking ahead to any more inclement weather in the next coming days or tomorrow?
Yes, the weather reports, as you see. Now, most everything we see in the next couple of days is all isolated. You'll hear that term a lot, but isolation in our county can be a terrible thing. We're the gateway to the hill country. So what happens to the west? What happens to the west versus what happens even over the central part of the county is can cause some great impacts. If it rains there, it equals X here. If it rains here, causes a Y outcome somewhere else. But we do have an announcement on the push forward. Yeah.
Thank you. Just wanted to let y'all know that we have positively identified Jose Pichardo. His family has been notified, and we have given that information. We also have identified a second person, however, pending death notification. We are waiting to release that name until such time as that we can reach the family and get that information to them on a positive level.
Could you say which one that is?
What, I'm sorry?
Which victim that was, the positive ID?
Spell it out for us. The one that we did ID?
No, which is the second one, the female or the male?
It's the female.
Okay, thanks.
And can you also spell the name of the one victim you do have identified?
It's Jose, Jose, Alvaro, Alvero, Artega, Artea, Ga, hyphenated, Pichardo, Pichardo. I'm hoping I say that right.
Thank you.
And what is your name?
Lieutenant Jerry Strachey with the Hayes County Sheriff's Office.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Are you able to quantify the search rig you mentioned expanding? Is there any way to quantify how big it is? Put a number on it?
Well, we're looking at into 3 counties right now, so that's pretty significant in the state of Texas to pick up 3 county areas along the river. In mileage, no, I couldn't do it off the top of my head, sorry.
Is there information on where Jose was found?
That's going to be FM 2325.
Oh, that's okay. The one.
Does anybody have any questions?
How are the teams here locally, the police officers, the fire and rescue folks? They've got to be exhausted. At what point do you call in outlying areas, and where do you get them from, considering Houston's underwater?
Right. Everybody has to keep in mind, we're not alone in this situation. This flood has been going on since May 4th. And it's impacting most of Texas, especially in the central area. I've been calling on people from within the region and getting good response, but they're underwater as well in many ways. But we're getting plenty of response from the state on this from the standpoint of personnel, boots on the ground kind of thing. We're trying to help each other out. We're sending resources up to other counties where we can possibly. For example, Blanco County, and I've been in contact with my brother down in fellow EMC down in Caldwell County, trying to keep track of what's happening. We're not trying to silo anything. We're trying to make sure everybody is taken care of. If you're in a jurisdiction or a home, just because there's a city limit line or a county line, we're still going to take care of you, even though you're in their county. We've done that, and we're doing that now. Yes, sir.
You've probably been like a broken record about this, but can you reiterate the importance about paying attention to flash flood warnings?
Okay. We had a flood. In fact, y'all were just leaving the other day, and we had to sound tornado sirens. That was day before yesterday. Tornado sirens. We were evacuating people out of their homes while we're talking about a flood that happened 4 days ago. It doesn't take much. We are saturated, folks. The isolated thunderstorms could cause immediate local flooding in your area. I can't stress it enough. We're to a point where we're missing 11 people. We don't need any more. I know everybody wants to help, and that's great. that's why we're organizing, so we can get the message out to everybody in a concerted way, in a very confident way to them of what the message is. I hope we've been good with you on the messaging, and not giving you bad information. We're trying to make it clean and clear for you guys. We have some good, fine folks. Feel free to feedback if you start to get low here. I think I explained the other night, or the other day, people here didn't know what was going on, but everybody else did, because we didn't have TV, we didn't have the ability to communicate directly with our own citizens in most cases.
There was some reports on Facebook yesterday that turned out to be untrue that somebody's dam was about to fail. Do you have any information on the integrity of other dams in the area?
In Bastrop County, or correction, in Blanco, no, it was Bastrop. In Bastrop, they had a pond or a part of the one of their waterways that collapsed, and it was not as bad as it sounded. They made it indicate that the dams were failing to the wall. We get this in every event like this. You hear terms like wall of water. You hear terms like the dams are going to fail or collapse. Yes, there are going to be infrastructure damages and things that happen. For example, the Wimberley Bridge. That was looked at by half a dozen engineers before we opened it up. There's no way we're going to put ourselves in a position wherever we possibly can where we're going to get people hurt. There is nothing in the queue right now, Janina was asking about, relative to any major damage that's going to collapse or cause any more catastrophic issues with the infrastructure.
You made reference to 100 searchers, I think, around Wimberley, and thousands, and you just, in the bigger picture, can you say who?
Volunteers.
Well, yeah, can you just say who's, I mean, there's National Guard troops, or can you give us kind of a inventory of who's out there, what the total number is that, if you know it?
Sure. Well, I give you some basics. Basically, the Texas Task Force will go with about 100 personnel on the ground as the main search group. It doesn't sound like, with the scale, they've actually covered a significant part of the Wimberley Valley Basin area out there, and categorized and cataloged the search areas. I have some pretty good mapping right now of how much they've actually done. Pretty impressive with the amount of time that they've been on the ground. But again, they're focusing on the technical areas, and then we can bring in the larger parties and start knocking out the big schemes.
But, there's thousands of volunteers working.
Volunteers right now are more in the impacted areas, helping people pull furniture out, that kind of thing. I'm sorry.
That's all right. And if you had to give any kind of estimate of how much of the area that needs to be searched in Hays County has been searched, it's a big task. Within so many 100 feet of the river or something, are you halfway through or a quarter of the way through, or
They're about a third of the specific technical in, a third, or probably half with an overview but one whole with the flights. So we've flown the whole thing. We've cleared the whole thing. We've used a lot of technology over the entire search area, but now we have to get down into it to figure out those little nooks and crannies that technology can't do. Y'all hear this all the time in other ventures. Technology is great, but boots on the ground, it gets the job done, period.
Yesterday, in the press conference, this might be more of a county question. We were going through some of the details of the reverse 911 calls that went out.
Sure.
Attempts to reach residents.
Sure.
Are there any more details available on whether that house with the 3 families was reached either through 911 or a deputy coming to the door?
I couldn't tell you. The county couldn't tell you right now. We'd have to research that. We can find out. It'll be after the fact.
Ken, of the 11 missing, have y'all released the names of those individuals and where they were?
Yes, I think they're on the board back there for you guys.
That's everybody.
Is it up there? Okay. Yeah, all the names and ages and locations of where these folks were on the vehicle. Can you might give it to you after? We have photos as well available. Any other questions?
Can we get your name?
Kenneth, Kenneth, Bell, Bell, Emergency Management Coordinator. working with, we call it a joint operations center here, or a joint emergency operations center for Hayes County.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.